Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. Olivia sits in front of her computer in the dimly lit study, fingers hanging above the keyboard, but unable to strike the next word. As an acclaimed writer, she's never had more trouble concentrating. The launch of her new book was close at hand, but her thoughts kept wandering away, drifting toward the two men who occupied her heart. Olivia sighed deeply and rubbed her tired eyes. Her eyes fell unobtrusively on two photographs on the table, one with her and Kevin, the owner of the publisher. The other is a picture of her and her first love, Ethan, at a painting show. Two very different men, yet both in her heart, occupying an equally important position. Kevin, mature and steady, always gives her security. They met at a literary seminar. It's been a constant contact ever since. Kevin's married status should have kept Olivia at bay, but the bond and attraction between them grew stronger. Every time we meet, Kevin's gentle gaze makes Olivia's heart skip a beat. And Ethan, talented artist and Olivia's first love. They met in college and spent the most passionate and exuberant years of their youth together, though they were separated by their own pursuits. But after Ethan's recent return to town, that once passionate, it's been rekindled. Ethan's passion and creativity always inspires Olivia, make her feel alive. Olivia closes her eyes and remembers yesterday's art show. The showroom is filled with Ethan's work. The passionate and life-affirming paintings remind her of the good times when they were in love. Just as she was lost in her memories, Kevin suddenly appeared beside her, holding her hand tenderly. "Enjoying the show?" Kevin asked softly. "There's tenderness in your eyes." Olivia nods her head in panic, her heart racing. She felt incredibly nervous as the two men she loved so much, and now they're all in her sight at the same time. She didn't know how to react to the situation, so she could only pretend to be calm. "I hope they don't see the difference." Just then, a stranger suddenly bumps into Olivia. She felt a stabbing pain in the back of her neck and her vision began to blur. The body becomes weak. She tried to call for help, but her throat seemed to be blocked. In her last moments before losing consciousness, she saw the anxious faces of Kevin and Ethan. And then the world went dark. When Olivia wakes up again, she finds herself in a strange place. It's a dark, dank, abandoned warehouse. It was empty all around, with only a dim light bulb bobbing overhead. She was lying on a worn-out couch, her whole body aching and her mind foggy. Olivia tries to get up, but her legs are weak. Fear began to spread. She didn't know where she was. "I don't know why I was brought here." Looking around, there was nothing but dust and cobwebs. Just then, a cold mechanical voice suddenly rang out, echoing through the empty warehouse. "Welcome, Olivia." Olivia looks around in horror, trying to find the source of the sound. But nothing. "Look no further," the voice continued. "You can't see me, but I can see everything about you." A chill came over Olivia, and she wondered who the voice belonged to. "I don't know what he wants." "Olivia, you've been playing with two men's feelings," the voice said. "You think you're so smart that you can have two relationships at once and not get caught?" Olivia's heart raced with a mixture of fear and shame. She didn't know how the voice knew her secret, but she knows she's caught in the act. I didn't." Olivia tries to argue, "But I can't get the words out of my mouth." "Don't try to deny it," the voice interrupted her. "I know about every secret date you've had with Kevin, and every kiss you and Ethan shared in the studio. Do you think you're so great that you can have the love of two men at the same time?" Olivia fell silent, tears welling up in her eyes. She knew what she did was wrong, but she really loved them both. No choice. Now, the voice grew colder. "It's time to pay for your behavior." Just then, lights suddenly came on at the other end of the warehouse. Olivia saw two hospital beds placed side by side with a person lying on each of them. She felt a wave of dizziness when she recognized that it was Kevin and Ethan. "Their lives are in your hands now," said the voice. "You have to make a choice. If you save one, the other will die. That's what you get for playing with your feelings." Olivia felt a twinge in her stomach and couldn't believe it was real. The two men she loves are now at her mercy. How should she choose? Can she choose? When Olivia stood between two hospital beds, as she looked at Kevin and Ethan's sleeping faces, she felt her heart cut to the bone. She recalled every good moment she had spent with them, every sweet kiss, every heart-racing moment. How should she choose between love and morality? How is she supposed to decide whether a person lives or dies? Tears blur Olivia's vision. She felt she was standing on the edge of a cliff, about to fall into a bottomless abyss. She knew that no matter what choice she made, her life would change forever. And it's all because she can't control her feelings. Inability to make the right choice. Now, fate has given Olivia one last chance. But the choice was harsher than any she could have imagined. She took a deep breath and tears came to her eyes. Knowing that you must face this terrible reality, she has to choose. But can she really do it? The air in the warehouse grew heavier and heavier. Olivia felt suffocated. Her eyes dart back and forth between Kevin and Ethan. Each transition was like a sharp blade stabbing into her heart. Two men she loved were lying in front of her right now, in a matter of life and death, and she has to make a choice. That cold mechanical voice sounded again. Time is running out, Olivia. You have to make a decision. Olivia took a shaky step forward. Her hand unconsciously reached for Kevin, but hesitantly withdrew it. Kevin is her safe haven, giving her security and stability. But at the same time, he's a married man. She thought of Kevin's wife and children, and the guilt came over her like a tidal wave. She turned to Ethan, a warmth welling up in her heart. Ethan was her first love, the spark that ignited her passion. The chemistry between them never went away, even during the years they were apart. But Ethan's lifestyle has always been so erratic, full of unknowns and risks. Tell me, Olivia shouted into the air. Why? Who are you? Uncommunicative. It was as if a century had passed before the voice sounded again. It doesn't matter who I am. The important thing is that you're finally taking responsibility for your actions. You've toyed with two men's feelings, and now it's time to make a choice. Olivia felt a wave of dizziness as she held onto the wall and slowly slid to sit on the floor. She thought back over the past few months, heartbeat racing on a sneaky date with Kevin, ecstatic to be reunited with Ethan. She enjoys being loved by two men, without ever really thinking about the consequences. I love them both, Olivia whispered. It's more like saying to yourself, how can I choose? Love? The voice sneered. Do you know what love is? Real love is choice, commitment, loyalty. What you're doing is nothing more than a selfish game. Those words stabbed Olivia in the heart like a knife. She knew the voices had a point, but her feelings were real. Her love for Kevin and Ethan is genuine. Olivia stood up and walked over to Kevin's hospital bed. She gently stroked his face, recalling the time they had spent together. Kevin was always so considerate and aware of every little habit she had, support her every dream. But she also remembered all those sneaky dates, all that guilt about Kevin's wife. She turned toward Ethan and looked at his handsome face. Ethan is the passion and adventure of her life. The spark between them never went out. But she also remembers Ethan's instability, all those nights of heartbreak because of his capriciousness. As the minutes ticked by, Olivia felt herself on the verge of breaking down. She knelt between the two hospital beds, tears falling like rain. Please, she choked out, don't make me make that choice. Take my life and let them both live. That's not an option, the voice replied coldly. You must choose. Otherwise, they're both dead. Olivia looked up, a flicker of determination in her eyes. She stood up and took a deep breath, trying to calm herself down. If I have to choose, she shuddered. I wonder, do they know about all this? Do they know that I betrayed them? Silence once again enveloped the space. Olivia's heart beats faster, waiting for the voice to reply. Kevin knows about you and Ethan, the voice finally said. But Ethan doesn't know Kevin exists. The answer came as a blow, and Olivia felt dizzy. Kevin knew about her betrayal and never mentioned it. She remembered those thoughtful looks Kevin had been giving her lately. Those moments when you want to say something. Her heart was torn by guilt and pain. I'll give you your last 10 minutes, the voice said. In 10 minutes, you must make a choice. Otherwise, they're all dead. With these words, a large screen suddenly appeared on the wall of the warehouse. It shows a countdown. 10 minutes, 9:59, 9:58. Olivia feels like time is flying by. A million images flash through her mind. Cozy moments with Kevin in the cafe. A passionate kiss with Ethan in the studio. 3 people meet awkwardly at an art show. She remembered her dream, the unfinished new book. She used to think she was writing a story about complicated love. It is only now that I realize that she was actually playing with her own feelings and those of others. Every second counts. Olivia's internal struggle is getting more and more intense. She knew that no matter what choice she made, her life would change forever. She's going to lose someone she loves, and possibly herself. When the countdown is down to the last minute, Olivia stood between 2 hospital beds, tears blurring her vision. She looked at Kevin's peaceful face and remembered the security and understanding he had given her. Then she turned to Ethan, recalling the unparalleled passion and creativity that had characterized their relationship. I love you both, she whispered, and I'm really sorry. Counting down the last 10 seconds, Olivia closes her eyes and takes a deep breath. She knew that no matter what choice she made, she would live forever in regret and pain. But she had no choice. She had to make a decision. The moment the countdown hit 0, Olivia opened her eyes and burst into tears. She reached out with a trembling hand and took the hand of one of the I choose. Her voice choked, and she could barely utter the name. Just then, the entire warehouse was suddenly plunged into darkness. In the darkness, Olivia feels a wave of vertigo. Her hand was still clasped in the hand of one of the. But in this pitch blackness, she suddenly couldn't tell who she was really choosing. Panic struck her, and she tried to cry out, but found her voice, as if swallowed up in this endless darkness. Suddenly, the blinding lights came back on. Olivia had to squint her eyes to adjust to the sudden brightness. When her vision finally cleared, she saw that she was holding Kevin's hand. Ethan's hospital bed was empty, as if he'd never existed. No, 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 Olivia shouted as she broke down. She let go of Kevin's hand and stumbled over to where Ethan once lay. Where's Ethan? What have you done with him? That cold mechanical voice sounded again. You've made your choice, Olivia. Kevin survived, and Ethan? He's gone. Olivia felt a twinge of heaven as her legs could no longer support her, and she fell to her knees. Tears flowed uncontrollably down her cheeks, and her whole body trembled. She couldn't believe that just a few minutes ago, Ethan was lying here alive, and now he's just disappeared. This can't be right. Olivia muttered, I don't believe it. Ethan, Ethan, she cried out in desperation, hoping it was all just a bad dream. Just then, Kevin started to wake up. He slowly opened his eyes and looked around in confusion. Olivia, he called out weakly, where is this? What happened? Olivia turns to Kevin, teary-eyed. She didn't know how to explain it all, didn't know how to face her choices. She slowly walks towards Kevin and takes his hand in hers. Kevin, I'm so sorry, she choked out. I don't know what I'm apologizing for. Was it for choosing him over Ethan, or for her betrayal? Kevin looked at her in confusion, as if trying to comprehend the situation at hand. Suddenly, a flash of realization flashed in his eyes, which then turned into a deep sadness. You know, don't you? Olivia asked in a small voice. About me and Ethan. Kevin nodded slowly, mixed emotions in his eyes. I've always known, Olivia, he said calmly. I wish you'd told me yourself. Olivia felt a pang of heartache. She had thought she was hiding it well, but it turns out Kevin knew about her betrayal all along. She shuddered to think of the pain Kevin had endured in silence. I'm so sorry, Kevin. She apologized again, her voice shaking. I don't know what to do. I love you, but I love Ethan, too. I know it's selfish, but I really… Kevin raised his hand and gently wiped the tears from Olivia's face. I understand, Olivia, he whispered. Love is so complicated sometimes. But where's Ethan? Olivia felt a sharp pain. It was as if someone had plucked a knife hard into her heart. How is she going to tell Kevin that Ethan's gone? And all because of her choices? Just then, the voice sounded again. Let me explain, Olivia. With the sound of the voice, one of the walls of the warehouse suddenly turned into a huge screen. The face of a middle-aged man appeared on the screen. Olivia and Kevin are both surprised to find out that this is someone they both recognize. Tom, said Kevin incredulously. What's going on? Tom is a longtime friend of Kevin's and an editor at Olivia Press. His face wore a complex expression of both guilt and a hint of relief. I'm sorry, Kevin, Olivia, Tom said. I had to. Next, Tom explained the whole thing. It turns out that Kevin planned all this. Kevin has known about Olivia and Ethan's relationship for a long time, but he can't face it directly. He found Tom and hoped to get help from his friend. Tom went on to explain, Kevin wants you to make a choice, Olivia. He thinks it's the only way to know you're sincere. But he didn't have the courage to do it himself, so he found me. I shouldn't have said yes, but seeing my best friend in so much pain, I finally agreed. Olivia felt a wave of dizziness as she couldn't believe what she was hearing. She turned to Kevin with questioning and pain in her eyes. Kevin lowered his head, unable to look Olivia in the eye. I'm so sorry, Olivia, he said softly. I know it's cruel, but I really don't know what to do. I love you so much that I've lost my mind. What about Ethan? Olivia asked shakily. He really? Tom shook his head. Ethan's safe, he said. He's in the hospital now. We just gave him some sleeping pills. He'll wake up soon and won't remember what happened. Olivia felt a wave of relief, but was then overcome by an even stronger anger and a sense of betrayal that overwhelms. She stood up and looked at Kevin with pain and disappointment in her eyes. How could you do this? She questioned, her voice shaking with anger. Do you know how much pain I'm in? Do you know that making me choose between the two of you, does it mean anything to me? Kevin lowers his head, speechless, and Tom's face is full of guilt. I'm so sorry, Olivia, Kevin finally said. I know this won't make up for my mistake, but I hope you understand. I love you so much that I've lost my mind. Olivia shook her head, tears welling up again. She felt exhausted, heartbroken, betrayed. The one she loved, the one she trusted, had tested her love in such a cruel way. I need time, she said finally, her voice hoarse. I need to get out of here, away from all of you. Without waiting for Kevin and Tom to respond, Olivia turns and leaves the warehouse. She walked into the night, feeling the cold wind on her face. She didn't know where she was going or how she was going to face the future. All she knew was that from this day forward, nothing would ever be the same again. In the days that followed, Olivia fell into a deep state of self-blame and anguish. She couldn't forgive herself for falling in love with two people at the same time, and can't forgive Kevin for testing her so cruelly. Her writing came to a standstill, as if inspiration had been drained out of her. She began to doubt her understanding of love, doubt if I'm still qualified to love and be loved. A few weeks later, Olivia got a letter from Kevin. She hesitated for a long time, but finally opened the envelope. In the letter, Kevin apologizes again for his behavior. He says he understands that Olivia may never forgive him, but he wants Olivia to forgive herself. He writes, Love is inherently complicated, Olivia. You don't have to be ashamed of how you feel. Your choice proves the truth of your heart. Whatever the outcome, at least we were honest about our feelings. After reading the letter, Olivia burst into tears. She realized that this painful experience, as cruel as it was, but it gave her a deeper understanding of her own heart. She began to think that perhaps true growth comes when faced with such difficult choices. Still able to maintain sincerity and courage, Olivia sat down at her computer, took a deep breath, and began to write. This time, she will no longer run away from her inner conflicts and pains. Instead, they pour them into words. Her new book, which will be a story of love, choice, and growth. A story about how to find yourself in a complex relationship. With each word, Olivia felt herself slowly heal. She knew that there was still a long road ahead of her, but at least she had taken the first step. 6 months on, Olivia is standing at her book launch, looking at the bustling crowd on stage. I had mixed feelings in my heart. The novel, titled Crossroads of Love, it's all the pain, struggle, and realization she's had in the past 6 months. As she began her speech, her eyes swept unobtrusively over the audience. Saw Kevin and Ethan. They sat at opposite ends of the room, both with complex emotions in their eyes. Love, Olivia spoke, her voice shaking slightly. It can be the greatest gift of our lives, or the heaviest burden. Over the past year, I've been on a journey of love, a journey to reconnect with myself and redefine love. The audience on stage listened quietly. They don't know the real story behind Olivia's words, but all of them can feel the sincere emotions contained in them. We always think that love should be a simple, either slash or choice. But the reality is often more complicated, Olivia continues. Sometimes we fall in love with different people at the same time, because they represent the different needs and desires of our hearts. It doesn't mean we're bad people. Rather, it means that we are complex, multifaceted human beings. Speaking of which, Olivia's gaze darted between Kevin and Ethan. Kevin lowered his head while Ethan looked straight at her. There was a twinkle in his eye, a certain emotion he couldn't name. But Olivia took a deep breath. Love isn't just about feelings, it's about choices. Choose loyalty, choose honesty, choose to face your inner conflicts. In my novel, the protagonist, Emma, must choose between two men she loves dearly. This choice is not only about love, but about her understanding of herself and her direction in life. A murmur rang out from the stage, many of whom had already read the book. They were both deeply moved by Emma's struggles and eventual choices. Emma's choices don't mean she stopped loving another person. Instead, it means that she chose to be responsible for herself and for others. She chose to grow up and face the complexities of life. Olivia paused for a moment as she felt her throat tighten a bit. She'd rehearsed her next words in her mind a million times, but it still hurts when I actually say it. In the process of writing this book, I've also been reflecting on my own. I've made mistakes, hurt people who love me, and hurt myself. But I've learned that true growth is not running away from mistakes, but facing them with courage. Learn from it and get better. Speaking of which, Olivia's eyes meet Kevin's. A flicker of apology and understanding in his eyes. Olivia nods gently, then turns her attention to Ethan. Ethan had a faint smile on his face, as if he was proud of her. Love is not a perfect fairy tale. It's full of choices, compromises, and growth. But that's what makes love real and precious, Olivia said, her voice firm. With this book, I hope to help readers understand the complexity of love. I also hope to encourage people to be brave enough to face their hearts. After the presentation, Olivia signed autographs for readers at the book signing table. As the last reader left, she looked up to find Kevin standing in front of her. "Wonderful speech, Olivia," Kevin said softly. "Your book? It's beautiful and it's real." Olivia gave a faint smile. "Thanks, Kevin. Writing this book was healing for me." Kevin nodded with mixed emotions in his eyes. "Olivia, He paused for a moment, as if weighing his words. "I'm sorry for what we've been through. I know my behavior has caused you great pain." Olivia took a deep breath. "Kevin, I wouldn't say I've completely forgiven you. What you did really hurt me. But I understand what you were going through. We've all made mistakes and we're all learning how to love." A glimmer of hope flashed in Kevin's eyes. "So, there's still a chance we can?" Olivia interrupted with a gentle shake of her head. "Kevin, we all need time to heal and grow. Maybe someday we can be friends, but for now, we both need our space." Kevin nodded, a little lost, but with an understanding smile. "I understand. Thank you, Olivia. I wish you all the best." As she watched Kevin leave, Olivia felt a sense of relief. She knew that this conversation marked a new phase in their relationship. It's not the end, but at least it's the beginning of a reconciliation. Just then, Ethan came over. He's holding Olivia's book in his hand with appreciation and a hint of sadness in his eyes. "You've written our story so well, Liv," Ethan said. They used their college nicknames. Olivia felt her heart warm. "Thanks, Ethan. Writing this book meant a lot to me." Ethan nodded. "I can imagine. Liv, I want you to know I'm proud of you. You've faced so much and still managed to create something so beautiful. Olivia felt her eyes water a little. Thank you, Ethan. You know, in that moment of choice, I really didn't know what to do. I love you both in different ways. Ethan gently took Olivia's hand. I know, Liv. Love is so complicated. But in the end, you chose honesty. You chose to face it. That's what counts. They looked at each other and smiled, and felt a mutual understanding and appreciation for each other. So, Ethan let go of Olivia's hand with a mischievous glint in his eye. What's next for you, great writer? Olivia laughed. Honestly, I'm not sure yet. But I know that no matter what happens, I'll continue to write. Continue to explore the meaning of life and love. Ethan nodded. That's good. The world needs your story, Liv. As she watched Ethan leave, Olivia felt a wonderful sense of peace. She knew that her life had changed forever, but the change wasn't all bad. Through this experience, she learned more about herself and the true meaning of love. That night, Olivia sat at her desk at home and opened her laptop. She began writing a new story, one of forgiveness, growth, and self-discovery. She didn't know where this story would take her, but she did know that she has the courage to face whatever comes her way. Writing late into the night, Olivia stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the city lights went down, and she remembered what she'd been through. That imprisoned warehouse, forced to make choices, the pain and remorse that followed, and the eventual reconciliation and growth. She took a deep breath and felt the peace within her. She knows that there will be more challenges and choices in life, but she is no longer afraid to. Because she understands that true love is not about running away, but about facing up to it. Not to possess, but to fulfill. Not to be perfect, but to grow in imperfection. Olivia smiled and turned back to her desk to continue her writing. Her story, her life, has just begun. Across town, Kevin sits in his study, holding Olivia's new book in my hand. He turned to the last page and saw Olivia's signature and a quote. To Kevin, may we all grow in love. He gently stroked the line, a tear flashing in his eye. He knew that the story between them was over, but life went on. He decided that, starting tomorrow, he would learn to recognize himself again and learn to love. And learn to let go. Meanwhile, Ethan is standing in his studio. In front of me is an unfinished painting. The painting shows a crossroads with the end of the road hidden in the mist. He picked up his paintbrush and began to add some light to the mists. He remembered Olivia's words, "Love is a journey, not a destination." He smiled and continued his creation with a heart full of anticipation for the future. And so the story of the three men continues in different corners of the city. They all move forward on their own paths, carrying with them memories of the past, with hope for the future. And Olivia's book became a bridge that connected them all, keeping them on their respective journeys through life with some kind of special connection. This is love, complex and beautiful, full of pain but gentle. It may not give us a perfect ending, but it will give us the opportunity to grow. Opportunities for us to reconnect with ourselves and others. In the process, we make mistakes and get hurt, but in the end, we become stronger, wiser, and know how to love better, and a better understanding of how to live. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.